Management Concepts empowers federal leaders at every career level. Their 6 leadership programs include courses aligned to OPM ECQs and fundamental competencies. Taught by experts with federal experience, Management Concepts programs combine live instructions with experiential learning, personal assessments, coaching, and online collaboration to deliver the real-world skills you need. Over 10,000 government workers a year choose Management Concepts for their leadership development needs. Learn why at managementconcepts.com. Classes forming now.
Moving day means that you and your things are in for a big transition. There's a lot to figure out. New closets, different counter space, change of floor plan. No worries. CubeSmart is here to help make your move as easy as possible. Online or in person, CubeSmart provides a self-storage experience that puts the focus on you because you matter most. Moving can be costly, and that's why CubeSmart is offering up to 25% off your monthly rent. Say goodbye to moving stress and hello to your new address with CubeSmart Self-Storage. Visit CubeSmart.com for more details.
We've all got a lucky friend. The one who wants a big new TV and boom, suddenly that TV's on sale. Some people always seem to get the best opportunities or the best deals. Well, now some people are all people at AT&T. Because AT&T is giving all their customers, both new and existing, the same great deals. That's right. Everybody can get in on great AT&T deals all the time. Visit att.com/best deals to learn more. Restrictions apply.
Outkick the coverage with Clay Travis live every weekday morning from 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern, 3 to 6 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio. Find your local station for Outkick the coverage at foxsportsradio.com. Or stream us live every morning on the iHeartRadio app by searching FSR.
Now let's get this party started.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
March Madness officially underway. Drew Brees has retired. We'll dive into both of those storylines. But right off the top here, I want to let you know that you now have the chance to sign up for your brackets. This is one of the great things about the NCAA tournament in general, and Fox Sports Radio is giving you a chance to win $1 million in the M-Drive $1 Million Bracket Challenge. The $1 Million Bracket Challenge is not complicated. If you fill out a perfect bracket at foxsportsradio.com, you win $1 million. You can compete against all your favorite Fox Sports Radio hosts and fellow listeners out there. Listener in first place, even without a perfect bracket, gets a $1,000 gift card. Second place, $300. Third place, $200. You can fill out your bracket now and get official rules at foxsportsradio.com. It's the Fox Sports Radio M-Drive $1 Million Bracket Challenge. Refine your prime with M-Drive. Okay, look, I am ecstatic that we are finally signed up for the NCAA tournament all over again after 700 days without the NCAA tournament, the abrupt shutdown that we had last year. It was an amazing feeling, I thought, to sit in front of your television, flip on CBS, and watch the bracket reveal as it was presented for all of us to be able to get excited about. Now, Gonzaga is a massive favorite, sitting at 26-0. A chance to get to 32-0 and equalize, I think it was the 1976 Indiana Hoosiers, the last team to go undefeated. And I would tell you this, if the Zags and Mark Few pull this off, it is one of the all-time great accomplishments. Yes, it is an odd season, but to be able to be disciplined enough to be this good in a season that is this abnormal, it would remind me of what the Alabama Crimson Tide just did. Instead of there being an asterisk for abnormality, I think this should have an asterisk for excellence because it requires so much incredible discipline and talent in order to make a run at an undefeated season in the most abnormal season of most of our lives. The Zags are a big favorite to potentially cut down the nets in the RCA Dome up there in Indianapolis, okay? Other big favorites, Baylor, Michigan, and Illinois, your number one overall seeds. But this is as big of a favorite in an NCAA tournament as I can remember seeing someone in a very, very long time. So this is going to be incredibly exciting. I'm out here giving you a free gift, by the way. You go to FanDuel.com/Clay right now, FanDuel.com/Clay. $50 free, zero risk gambling opportunity. You get $50 free to gamble with at FanDuel.com/Clay. It's easy. It's simple. FanDuel.com/Clay. Okay, what do we expect to see in this tournament? And what do we fear seeing in this tournament? Here's what I expect to see. The most disciplined and the teams that have the best leadership are going to end up in the Final Four. What do I mean by that? The lesson that we have learned from COVID so far has been the best teams with the best leadership dominate far more so far than they have in typical years. Think about it with me. LeBron James, the best leader in the NBA. Lakers go down to the bubble and win a championship. Tampa Bay Lightning, best team in the NHL, champions. Best leader in the NFL, probably Tom Brady, champion. Guy he's playing against in the Super Bowl, best quarterback in the NFL, defending Super Bowl champs, Patrick Mahomes. Champions in college football, Nick Saban, the Alabama Crimson Tide, the team with the best culture in all of college football. I really believe this is the one that Nick Saban has created. Crimson Tide win the championship. Most talented, best leadership, coming back from a 3-1 series deficit in the NLCS, the LA Dodgers. The best teams have tended to dominate even more than they usually do in a COVID era. I think that is a function of leadership and culture mattering even more than they ordinarily do in this COVID universe that we have found ourselves in. That's what I expect to happen. Here's what I fear happening. I fear that we might have a situation like happened in the Big 12 and the ACC with a Kansas, with a Duke, with a Virginia, where one of the top teams, the Zags, Michigan, Illinois, that has a COVID-related issue, suddenly has to leave the tournament, and the overall champion is in much uncertainty and disrepute because people say, whoa, wait a minute. The best team wasn't able to play, or the best teams weren't even able to play, and we ended up having to forfeit our way to a champion. We haven't seen that happen in any other sport so far. We have dodged that eventuality. Could it end up happening in the NCAA tournament? That is my biggest fear. I think everybody out there, coach, players, fans, is going to be on tenterhooks, fingers crossed, hoping that every time these COVID tests come out, we aren't finding out that there are some positives on teams, which is leading to us having to question the overall legitimacy of a champion. So, March Madness is here. Lots of excitement. We're scheduled to be joined by Bruce Pearl here in just a bit. I can't wait to talk with him and have him break down the tournament because he played against Baylor. He played against the Zags. And also he played against a lot of the good teams in the SEC. Always entertaining, always honest. You've heard him on this show for years. Now, other big story that is out there. Parachuting into the middle of March Madness. What is going on? How about us dealing now with Drew Brees officially retiring? Drew Brees on Instagram announced his retirement. I will read it for you. Now the Saints have to figure out what the post-Drew Brees era is going to look like. Here's what Drew Brees said. After 20 years as a player in the NFL and 15 years as a Saint, it's time I retire from the game of football. Each day I poured my heart and soul into being your quarterback. Till the very end, I exhausted myself to give everything I had to the Saints organization, my team, and the great city of New Orleans. We shared some amazing moments together, many of which are emblazoned in our hearts and minds and will forever be a part of us. You have molded me, strengthened me, inspired me, and given me a lifetime of memories. My goal for the last 15 years was striving to give you everything you had given to me and more. I am only retiring from playing football. I am not retiring from New Orleans. This is not goodbye, rather a new beginning. Now, my real life's work begins. And he put a picture up of his boys and his daughter sitting on the couch. His boys are all in a Drew Brees jersey. Now, a couple of things that are also out there. Where does Drew Brees rank? Going to get to that in a moment, but first ballot Hall of Famer. 5 years from now, he'll be unveiling his gold bust at Canton most passing yards as he retires at 80,358 in the history of the NFL. Most completions at 7,142, ranking first all time. His completion percentage of 67.7% ranks first all time, and his passing touchdowns, 571 of them, ranking second all time. I believe that Drew Brees in his generation is the third best quarterback. I rank him behind Brady, who is number one, the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. I rank him behind Peyton Manning, and I put him at number 3 overall. Okay? That is a sterling category in which to be enshrined. But the most impressive thing about Drew Brees, I believe, is what he meant for the city of New Orleans. I really do believe that Drew Brees matters more to the city of New Orleans than any athlete has mattered to the individual city that he represented. Now, for the entirety of his career, there are guys out there, LeBron, Cleveland for a short period of time because of Akron. Jordan over his entire career representing the city of Chicago. Brady in New England with the Boston area representing an entire region of the country. Joe Montana with the San Francisco 49ers. We can run through a long list of iconic athletes that are forever defined, Cal Ripken in Baltimore, with the team with which they played that are so inextricably intertwined. But I'm not sure that you can point to any of those guys and say, if they hadn't been the quarterback or the star of the franchise at the time they were, that franchise might not still be in the city. I really do believe that in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, if Drew Brees had not been the quarterback of the New Orleans Saints and rallied as he did the entire city of New Orleans around the Saints franchise, I think it's altogether possible that that franchise could have moved to San Antonio or potentially somewhere else. There are many athletes which are synonymous with the city in which they played. I'm not sure there is any athlete that has been more important to the franchise remaining in the city upon which he played in than Drew Brees and New Orleans in the wake of Hurricane Katrina. And anybody who watched the celebration when the Saints beat the Colts, and ironically enough, Peyton Manning, who was a New Orleans native in that Super Bowl, whose dad, Archie, was the first iconic, really, quarterback in Saints history when they were awful. I'm not sure there's anybody that has mattered more. All right, up next, Auburn men's basketball coach Bruce Pearl.
This is Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis.
Hey, this is Jason McIntyre. Join me every weekday morning on my podcast, Straight Fire with Jason McIntyre. This isn't your typical sports pod pushing the same tired narratives down your throat every day. Straight Fire gives you honest opinions on all the biggest sports headlines, accurate stats to help you win big at the sportsbook, and all the best guests. Do yourself a favor and listen to Straight Fire with Jason McIntyre on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
It's crazy how much we have to pay for outdated, impersonal healthcare, and even crazier that we all just accept it. It's time to face facts. Healthcare is backwards. Luckily, there's Forward, a new approach to primary care that's surprisingly personal and refreshingly straightforward. Forward never makes you feel like just another patient. Backed by top-rated doctors and the latest tech, Forward gives you access to personalized care whenever you need it. Using in-depth genetic analysis and real-time blood work, Forward's top-rated doctors provide you with in-depth insights to better understand your genetics, mental, and physical health. They then create custom, easy-to-understand plans to help guide you to achieving long-term health. With Forward, you get unlimited in-person visits with your doctor and access to care anytime via the Forward app, all for one flat monthly fee. It's time to stop accepting backwards healthcare and start moving your health forward. Visit GoForward.com today to learn more. That's GoForward.com.
It feels like everything we do online comes with some risk. Buying a pair of socks online sounds simple enough, but then the online store wants as much personal information from you as possible. What does your credit score, eye color, blood type, mother's maiden name, or social security number have to do with buying socks? No one wants to be unsafe online, but every time you give up info and privacy, you may give up a little safety too. Norton 360 with LifeLock helps keep your digital life safer with device security, a VPN to keep your Wi-Fi activity private, and identity theft protection all in one. No one can prevent all cybercrime or identity theft or monitor all transactions at all businesses, but you can choose to be safer online. Just opt in to cyber safety with Norton 360 with LifeLock. Join now and save 25% or more off your first year at norton.com/Fox. That's norton.com/Fox to save 25%. norton.com/Fox.
After all that planning, it's happening. Your DIY closet renovation is finally becoming a reality. Question is, where do you put your things while you work? CubeSmart has you covered with month-to-month leases and self-storage solutions that make it easier to get organized. Online or in person, getting self-storage is convenient and fast. And because DIY renovations can easily go over budget, it's great that CubeSmart is offering up to 25% off your monthly rent. Say goodbye to before and hello to after with CubeSmart self-storage. Visit CubeSmart.com for more details.
The NCAA tournament is back. I know there are a lot of people excited about it. You can call 1-888-FARMERS to switch, and you could save a bundle on your auto insurance. We've got Coach Bruce Pearl with us, Auburn men's basketball coach, went to the Final Four a couple of years ago. Coach, I don't know that I've even asked you this question. How surreal was it to you last year when all of a sudden the rug got pulled out from under everybody's feet and the season just disappeared?
It was crazy, Clay. I was in your old town, Nashville, right? And
yep, getting ready for the tourney.
Get ready for the tournament, and you get a call from Mr. Sankey, and he said, "I want you to hear it from me first. We're canceling this thing, and I don't know that there's going to be an NCAA tournament." So, I mean, we're 25-6. I got a great team. We still got a chance to go back to the Final Four. By the way, you said we were in the Final Four a couple of years ago. The last time there was a Final Four, we were actually in it. That's how jacked up this
it's a good point.
Thing is, right?
It is wild. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out there listening to us right now that are just excited. As you know, that bracket comes out, you get to print it out, you get to sit down and sort of fill in the names and daydream if you're a fan of a team about a team like your Auburn Tiger team that made an incredible run to the last Final Four. And you've played a lot of the top teams that are in the bracket challenge this year. And so I appreciate you getting up early with us. I appreciate you breaking this all down with us. By the way, we have got a producer on our show who is an Auburn grad, and he was just fielding the call when you called in. So this is an esteemed graduate of the university. What would you tell him about next year's Auburn Tiger team? How do you feel about him?
Clay, you know, we're gonna rebuild and reload, and I feel good about a great. We had the youngest team in college basketball this year, and we won 7 SEC games. And you know, late in the year we beat Tennessee and beat Mississippi State. We got a win against Kentucky for the 4th straight year. I feel good. You know, I feel good about it. And I'll tell you what, I feel good about Alabama and Arkansas and LSU. I think those 3 teams coming out of our conference have got a chance to make some noise. And if Tennessee could get their offense going a little bit more consistently, they could too, because they obviously defend and they've got, you know, really, really good personnel. They got Fulkerson back. But I think our league has a chance to make some noise. That said, you know, give me Gonzaga and Baylor, and I might give you the field. That's how good I think those 2 teams are.
Yeah, so you've played both of those 2 teams, and I do think I want to start with Gonzaga and Mark Few and what he has accomplished there. They're sitting, Coach, at 26-0. If they were able to make that run to hoist the title, they would be the first undefeated team since Bobby Knight, 1974, I believe, Indiana Hoosiers. If anything, I think they are still a little bit under the radar. I don't know that a lot of people have recognized that they are 26-0 and staring down the barrel of history like they are. First of all, as someone who has played against this team this year, how good are they? How impressive is what Mark Few has accomplished? And this year of all years, how hard is it to get your guys up and stay healthy and not lose a game? I mean, it's crazy, isn't it?
They're the best team in college basketball. Mark Few is one of the best coaches in college basketball. This team is built to win it all. I absolutely love their draw in the sense that the three toughest teams in their bracket are three teams they played against, and the teams that have traditionally bothered Mark's teams would be some that's really athletic and really quick. Well, Iowa or Virginia or even a Kansas team that they saw down in Fort Myers where we played Gonzaga. I mean, if that's the stiffest competition they have, I think the committee did them a good one and gave them this opportunity. I think the other thing too is they're hungry. I think that while like Alabama got through the SEC tournament, or Illinois gets through the Big Ten tournament, or these teams are so beaten down. I think sometimes after Gonzaga's hungry. Yeah, they play in a better league when people give them credit for that West Coast League. BYU's really good. By the way, I like them a lot. They've been able to win a couple of games. But it's not the grind of the SEC, the ACC, the Big East, the Big Ten, the Big 12. I think the Zags are hungry, and I think they have a chance to make history. And Mark is an incredible competitor. Don't be fooled by that little, I guess he kind of looks like Opie a little bit from Mayberry RFD. Hey, he is a brilliant coach. He's a great competitor. He's a wonderful guy too. He probably fishes better than he and Opie both like to fish because he's kind of an outdoorsman. Man, I'm just telling you, and that's not. I like him. And the number one seed. I don't think the number one seed has won since Louisville in 2013. So it's not like it's chalk. But I do think this team is really good. Baylor, I played Baylor. They got the best guards as far as 3 or 4 guards all playing together in the country. They're a little undersized. They're a great defensive team. I like their draw too. I think we got a chance for those 2 number 1 seeds to get to the Final Four.
We're talking to Bruce Pearl, Auburn men's basketball coach. When do you get into the NCAA tournament? The year that you guys made a run to the Final Four, winning that first game was a battle for you. It was. I remember it went back and forth down the stretch. How difficult is it to basically? I know that it's a cliche, win in advance and nothing else matters. But how hard is it to get that first game? Like, are you more troubled or is it more challenging to play that opening game or to have to turn around and play another game if you're fortunate enough to win basically 2 days later? Which is the tougher turn for you in your experience in the NCAA tournament?
Well, Clay, a lot depends on where you're seated, If you're in the 8-9 game where your second game is going to be won, so that second game is going to be tougher. But the 8-9 matchup is going to be 2 teams that's going to be a pick-em game. So that's going to be a hard one. But I do think, in lots of different places in the bracket, the toughest game could be the first one. The 5-12 has, last year, or 2 years ago when we had the tournament, 3 12s beat 5s. We were the only 5 to advance, and we did so, like you said, in the last second possession. So depending on where you're seated, the toughest game to win is the first one. And then once you start winning, you start to feel like there's some wind in your sails and something really, really special is happening. And it's almost magical. And that's what One Shining Moment's all about. And I can tell you that there's nothing like these next 3 or 3 weeks, with the best one, I think, really being the opening rounds. I mean, the opening rounds are the best.
There was something interesting I said to start the show today. I said the NCAA tournament is unique and college basketball is unique because the opening weekend of the tournament is the best. I mean, I know you went to the Final Four the last time there was a Final Four, and it's an incredible accomplishment. But the excitement of having all these games going, starting at noon Eastern all throughout an entire weekend. A little bit different this year, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, instead of the usual Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. But it is an electric feeling. How hard is it as a coach when that bracket comes out to even sleep getting ready for your game? Like, what is the usual? Take me into that window for all these guys that are getting ready now. The bracket comes out, CBS, a lot of times your team's there, you're excited. What happens? Okay, so you see your matchup flash onto the screen. A lot of times you're not very familiar with the team that you're going to play against, and your life immediately becomes what? What is your typical schedule, and what do you think most of these coaches are doing right now as soon as they saw their bracket come out and who they're playing against on Friday or Saturday this week?
Well, first of all, experience matters. If you've had a team, whether you've had some guys that have been there before and they've come up short, that matters. I think coaching and experienced coaches that have sort of been there and done that, I think that matters. But here's how you do it. You're in a 4-team tournament that opening weekend. You know, you got your first game, and then you've got your next. Then you've got the second game, and so you take the other 3 teams and you give them to each one of your assistant coaches, and you create 3 scouting teams. And what I want my guys to do is I want us to look at their opponent. I said, who beat them in their league, or who historically has given them the most difficult time? Who has given them the greatest challenge? And that is the scout. That is who I want to look at. They've got the formula. They play them in the league. They know how to beat them. And I want to look at that. And then we actually go ahead and we scout. We scout 3 different. We have 3 different teams, and we prepare. Listen, I don't just prepare for game 1. I prepare for the weekend. And so we'll take a look at all 3 teams in preparation. What do we got to do to be able to advance and win 2 games to then get into the next 4-team tournament?
And that's why you've always liked preseason basketball tournaments in general. If I remember, we're talking to Auburn coach Bruce Pearl, because you kind of condition your team to think, hey, the NCAA tournament is just a series of 4-team challenges, right? You got to win your first 4-team challenge, then your next one, and boom, you're into the Final Four, right? 2 4-team challenges.
That's exactly right. And that's the other thing, too, what that does, Clay, is it makes it smaller for your team. It's not so overwhelming like there's 68 teams. Hey, wait a second. We're just going to go to Indianapolis, and we got to beat these 3 teams. And then after we beat these 3 teams, we got to stay in Indianapolis, and we got to beat these next 3 teams. And you've got to give them the vision, and you got to show them what's possible. And, a lot of coaches say, well, you take one at a time. Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. But I think it's important that you look past an opponent and start talking about the next opponent to your team, because it tells your team that you've got confidence in them, that we're going to go ahead and we're going to advance.
When you look at Rick Pitino, I know you've long been a fan of Rick Pitino and what he's been able to accomplish. To take Iona to the NCAA tournament, how good of a coach is Rick Pitino, and how impressive is that accomplishment?
Clay, he's the best I've gone up against. And that's when you say that, you think about all the guys I've gone up against, all of them, and to say that he's been the toughest matchup is I guess it's saying something. He knows what he wants to do, but the great thing about what he does, he knows what you want to do. He always knew what I wanted to do when I went up against him. He took it away, and he had that understanding. I'm happy for Rick. Things went bad at Louisville, and there were a lot of things that, a lot of other folks got involved. Yet at the same time, he's responsible, and I think he's accepted that level of responsibility. But you know what? It's a great story. And, kudos for Iona, for giving him that second chance. And he's a New York guy, and to be able to coach right there in New Rochelle, New York, how spectacular, how incredible, is that? It's a great story. And how about Patrick Ewing? How about Patrick Ewing? Clay, you give me one name, 2 names in the Big East to me that resonate more than anybody else is Dave Gavitt, who started the thing way back in the day, and then Patrick Ewing. I mean, yes, John Thompson for sure, Rowley and and Lou Carnesecca, and, all the great history of the big Jay Wright right now. But Patrick Ewing as a player and now a coach. I mean, it's just these are fun things about March Madness that are just so many, great storylines.
Last question for you, Bruce Pearl. I appreciate you getting up early with us. In the Final Four, the last time we had a Final Four, John Calipari, Kentucky not in the NCAA tournament, Duke not in the NCAA tournament. First time both of them have been out since all the way back at 1976. You won against Kentucky. You mentioned it 4 straight years. What do you think happened with University of Kentucky this year that led to them kind of having, it's not kind of, the worst season that John Calipari has had in the Bluegrass?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think there are some reasons. All right, number one, Duke and Kentucky are going to get the best high school players in the country every single year. And in this crop of really good high school players, they were really, really good players. But it wasn't like some of the great players that there wasn't the Anthony Davis type great players. And so the older teams, the teams that had lots of transfers, the teams that had lots of older guys and lots of experience, those are the teams that were able to win. We've seen that as a little bit of a trend, but now you take the COVID environment and you bring all those young kids into Kentucky, you bring them into Duke, and I will tell you this, bring them into Auburn. I had the youngest team in college basketball, not one of them. I had the youngest. I had a great freshman class. I had a really good sophomore class, and that's basically we played. We did not have a summer of real training. And so John Calipari and Mike Krzyzewski didn't have their strength coach to put weight on them. And so their young boys were going in there, and they were playing against men night in and night out with greater experience. Now, that doesn't mean to say that, someday, Calipari's kids are going to play for the Bulls, and someday, these seniors that are on these other SECs are going to come play for the Istanbuls. They're not NBA players, they're NBA prospects, but they're better college players. They're better college players right now. And I do think that's what happened to a lot of the blue bloods, and that's why you saw so many of these teams struggling.
Bruce Pearl, fantastic as always. We look forward to watching you back in the NCAA tournament in the near future. Hope you enjoy these games, and I appreciate you getting up early with us, my man.
It's hard watching and not being in it. It just motivates you to get your next group there. And, Clay, it's always great to visit with you.
This is Outkick the Coverage with Clay Travis.
Hey, it's Wilmer Valderrama from Essential Voices with Wilmer Valderrama Podcast. Lo siguiente es un mensaje de State Farm. Some stories deserve to be told. Incredible, but totally true stories. Stories that we knew nothing about, but that now we want to know everything about. Stories that were invisible but have found a way to travel from ear to ear. Stories that captivate us, move us, and even teach us. Stories that used to be secret but that are now a podcast. State Farm celebrates the fact that those stories can now be enjoyed by all. And that's why we want to share a bit of information that we can all enjoy as well. State Farm has surprisingly great rates on car insurance. Yes, for real. If you need to insure your car, don't hesitate to talk to a State Farm agent and take a look at the solutions that match your needs. It's easy. For surprisingly great rates that fit any budget, como un buen vecino, State Farm está ahí.
T-Mobile gives you more ways than ever to get out there with America's largest 5G network and the epic iPhone 12 with 5G on us. Whether you're hitting the road,
check out this great 4K video. I even posted it with 5G way out here.
Or getting the team together. Right now, current and new customers get up to 4 iPhone 12s on us on our Max plan with eligible trade-ins. Only at T-Mobile.
Each phone on us via 24 credits plus tax for well-qualified buyers. If you cancel credit, stop and balance on required finance agreements may be due. Contact us. See 5G coverage, access, and offer details at T-Mobile.com.
Support for this podcast comes from Invesco QQQ. Allow us to introduce you to Tom, an ordinary person who helped shape the future by putting his money behind the right ideas. Tom enjoys tending to his tomato garden and is currently developing the perfect blend for his homemade spaghetti sauce. Tom is also accessing companies that help change the course of the aerospace industry. by investing in Invesco QQQ. Invesco QQQ is a fund that allows you access to innovators of the NASDAQ 100, which goes to show you don't have to be a rocket scientist to help push progress forward. Become an agent of innovation. Learn more at Invesco.com/QQQ. There are risks involved with investing in ETFs, including possible loss of money. ETFs are subject to risks similar to those of stocks. Investments focused in the technology sector are subject to greater risk and are more greatly impacted by market volatility than more diversified investments. The NASDAQ 100 index comprises the 100 largest non-financial companies traded on the NASDAQ. An investment cannot be made directly into an index. Before investing, consider the fund's investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses. Call 800-983-0903 for a prospectus containing this information. Read it carefully before investing. Invesco Distributors, Inc.
One reason I've been so excited throughout the entire program, by the way, go download the podcast. Make sure you don't miss a single moment. Paul Kaharski breaking down the impact of Drew Brees in the first hour. By the way, his show debuts at Outkick.com today with Jonathan Hutton and Chad Withrow. Doug Gottlieb in the second hour, and you just heard Bruce Pearl hanging out with us. One reason that I am so excited to have March Madness back is because of how quickly everything shut down last year. Danny G dove into the archives. We had Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt on, and he told us about the moment that sports basically stopped when he found out that Rudy Gobert had tested positive. He was in Oklahoma City. The Utah Jazz had traveled there. Rudy Gobert test positive for COVID. What was that moment like as sports shut down? Listen to Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt tell us all right now. Excited to welcome in now the governor of Oklahoma, Kevin Stitt. And Governor, we're going to get into a couple of different interesting issues as it pertains to the intersection of sports and the state of Oklahoma for sure. But I want to start with you were in attendance when Rudy Gobert tested positive and Oklahoma City, the game against the Jazz, it just shut down there in Oklahoma City. What was your experience like on that evening? I don't know that I've heard anything at all about it from the governor perspective at all. What was that evening like? Tell me the story.
Well, it was really interesting. I went over there. I took my 10-year-old son with me. He brought his Sharpie and a basketball, and he was wanting to get some autographs. And we went to we were meeting with a company in Oklahoma that was expanding, so it was kind of a commerce trip. And we were there in the kind of the restaurant area at the Jazz, at the Thunder where we play, and the Jazz had showed up, and it was about $750 for was it $750 or $650? $650 for a 7:00 game. And I got a call from my Department of Health. This was early on March 11th, and they just told me, they said, "Hey, Governor, we just found out we tested one of the Jazz players. They were positive." I said, "Who knows?" And they said, "You're the first one. Nobody knows." So that's when I went and got Clay Bennett. We went to a conference room. I told him the news. We got the commissioner, the NBA commissioner, on the phone, and we sent the players back to the locker room. And I mean, it was literally, I think they had sang the national anthem. The warm-ups were done. Everything was ready to go. And we kind of caucused there with the NBA, and we knew at that point that the players had been around each other, and so just out of an abundance of caution, we went ahead and postponed that game and called that game, and then so that's kind of how it went down. It was a crazy day, and then we were walking through the bottom of the stadium there, and my 10-year-old son turned to Mr. Bennett, the owner of the Thunder, and said, "Am I going to be able to get an autograph?" And Clay said, "Remington, I'm going to get you all the autographs you want, son." It was pretty funny.
So let me just kind of go back into that story, because that's an incredible story. And I don't know if you even told that story hardly, or at least I haven't heard it in the national media. So when you get that news, your immediate thought is what? Because, I mean, that's like an earth-shattering thing. You happen to be at the Oklahoma City Thunder game as the governor of the state of Oklahoma. We're in the early days of the coronavirus outbreak. No athlete, I mean, this thing rocked the entire nation in a big way. And your immediate thought is what when they come and tell you, "Hey, Rudy Gobert has tested positive"? Because hardly anybody knows at that point.
Yeah, I mean, it was a gut punch. I remember I was staying in the restaurant. I got a phone call. I stepped away from my meeting because it was my Department of Health, and of course we were in regular contact. And I'm like, "Oh man, this is going to be bad news." And so he called me and just said, "Governor," he said, "we just found out that the Utah Jazz player tested positive. He got sick when he was here. He went to our OU Health Science Center. We tested him. We just got the results back." And I was just kind of, stunned. And so we knew we needed to. I needed to get with the ownership of the Thunder, and we needed to make a decision pretty quickly. I didn't know how much exposure he had to the other players, but I knew they had traveled together. And so once we got all the facts, we got on the phone with the NBA commissioner. So it was a really surreal moment. And then, 15 minutes after we called that game, then the NBA canceled for the season, and all the other sporting events ended up canceling. So kind of a surreal deal. But, of course, Mr. Bennett was concerned about his players, and we were concerned about the fans. And then we were all talking about how do we not panic the crowd as we release. And so we just we didn't break till the next day, but we just said, hey, we just had the announcer state that due to unforeseen circumstances, we're going to postpone this game, and please leave orderly. And so that's kind of how it went down. And it is kind of a part of history, I think, because this is just I think it's a watershed moment for all of us in the U.S. We were dealing with something that nobody knew exactly how it was affecting or how it was transmitting at that time or how infectious it was. And so out of an abundance of caution, I think we made the right decision that night.
I think you guys definitely made the right decision, Governor. Now, Rudy Gobert was never at the arena. Is that what I understand to be true?
That's right. We had him. He was sequestered over at his hotel room or waiting on the results of the test. And then as soon as we found out, we sent our Department of Health up to test all of the players. So we went in and tested all the Utah Jazz players. And just as kind of an interesting fact, their ownership was so appreciative. They sent a check back to our state, our health department, to cover the cost of those tests, because we immediately went in that night at 10 o'clock and tested all their players before they got on the flights and went back to Utah.
Now, you said you talked with Adam Silver. I mean, that again, this is going to be, I think, an incredible documentary one day, and I think this will be kind of the moment where they start to trace everything in terms of the fallout in the world of sports. What was Adam Silver's reaction like as the commissioner of the NBA? Did it seem as if he might have anticipated a story like this happening, or was he kind of shocked in your estimation?
My estimation, he was shocked, because he was telling Clay, really it's a state health department. And Mr. Bennett, Clay was like, well, I've got the governor right here with me. So we were kind of caucusing. And I don't think the NBA at that point had made a decision or what they were going to do. And so to me, it was a shock. It was, man, this is our worst fear. We had no idea this guy was here. But we were a little upset if the player was, I think, maybe showing some symptoms. Why would he fly to Oklahoma City?
Right.
But, we can play Monday morning quarterback. We just didn't know at that time what was happening. But we made the right decision, and I think that the NBA did as well. But good news is Oklahomans have really started to flatten this curve, and we've done a really good job. And now we're talking about our measured reopening plan, which we're excited about.
I mean, that is absolutely fantastic. Props to Danny G for chasing that down. We've got so much archives now, 5+ years of the show. We got a lot of history now that we've built up, and that was absolutely outstanding to listen to. It's just another reason why I'm so excited about having March Madness back. All right, I'll be out of the show Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Going to have guest hosts in. I'll be back on Friday. Encourage all of you out there to make sure that you continue to listen. I'll be back on Friday getting you ready for the NCAA tournament. I appreciate all of you. Make sure you don't miss a minute. Download the podcast. Paul Kaharski, Doug Gottlieb, and Bruce Pearl, your guests. We're talking a lot of Drew Brees and also a lot of March Madness. All that rolling your direction. I appreciate all of you hanging out with us, having an incredible time up in Park City for the rest of this week. Beautiful up here. Never been to Utah before. So many phenomenal people. I'm having a great time. This has been Outkick on Fox Sports Radio.
If you're a small business owner, growing your business is what it's all about. That is, if you have the space to do it. CubeSmart Self-Storage has the solution. With a variety of storage unit sizes, helpful online resources, and easy-to-access facilities, CubeSmart Self-Storage provides a self-storage experience that puts the focus on you, because you and your business matter most. And to help you grow, CubeSmart is offering up to 25% off your monthly rent. Say goodbye to crowded inventory and hello to your business success story with CubeSmart Self-Storage. Visit CubeSmart.com for more information.
If you have a phone and the free iHeartRadio app, you have thousands of podcasts on demand that you can binge anytime you want, from anywhere you want to listen. We love music too, so we curated hundreds of playlists to fit any mood or activity. And of course, you can bring your favorite radio stations with you wherever you bring your phone. Only on the iHeartRadio app. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts. All in one app. Did you know that we made the free iHeartRadio app so you can listen to hundreds of thousands of podcasts anytime you want, anywhere you want, totally free? Love music? Us too. We use music for everything we do in our lives, and the free iHeartRadio app has playlists with music perfect for every mood and every moment in your day. So we thought we'd share those with you too. Add to that being able to stream your favorite radio stations from anywhere. It's all free on iHeartRadio. #1 for music, radio, and podcasts. All in one app.